All right. Well, welcome everyone to F.A.L.L.O.U.T.P.O.D.C.A.S.T 70 something, a work in progress due about 2026. It's a fall showdown with all 525 songs, approximately going head to head in an ultimate We Have Always Been Here showdown. Thank you to the annotated fall. Phew, that site was down for 2 hours. The podcast almost fell apart.
The panicky message that you sent round yesterday.
Oh,
repeat. The annotated fall is down. Repeat.
The end of the world is nigh.
Where am I going to get all my notes from? And the track record, which I used as well. Joined tonight by Monsieur Pip Beard with his outside flavorness. How you doing, Phil?
Bonjour, bonjour. Very good. I am now all 46 years of age.
Nice. It's a splendid day for you. Lord Sage Temple is here with his baby.
Yes, I'm here, and I've got the baby. I'm going to give some booze to the baby.
Oh, come on. They're easy. Pemberton Walker soon ran into trouble, didn't you? What have you been up to, Al? No response at all. What? And Chris Barrow of Chris
I'm
Barrow,
suffering for him.
whatever. Chris Barrow of Wigan. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing well, thank you.
You're good. It's
Good to be
Tiny
on
Tim.
board again.
Yes, glad to have you. It's Tiny Tim with us, Phil.
He certainly is.
And due to my need for cash, I'm also going to be reading things now from Leon Jumble's sale, and I sold voting rights to a man called Michael E, so that might not go well. But even better than all that, we're joined by a special guest, Dan Laidler. Am I saying that right, Dan?
Yeah, that's fine.
Good. Well, you are a musician and artist, and I've kept dipping in and out of the stuff you've done over the years, but I originally got to know your stuff through a band called Tiger from the 90s. If it's all right, I want to ask you a few questions regarding said band, The Fall, and also your creative output. Do you have permission for that?
Yes.
Good. Dan, tell me a little bit about your creative output over the years, if you don't mind.
Well, it started in about the early 90s when I decided I wanted to be in a band, and I was writing songs. I used to make up songs while I was driving in a job. I had lorry driving. And then I started recording the songs, and then a few friends heard them, and we started the band Tiger, and it quickly took off. But sort of ran out of steam after about a couple of years. And since then, I haven't really done much in the way of music, just a few songs. And that's about it, really.
No, that's great. I mean, I want to play a few tracks. Yeah, I was a big fan of Tiger. Like you said, they didn't last very long, but those few early singles and little bits and bobs all the way through were really delightful. Oh, well, we're here, though. My mum's here. My mum's visiting.
Oh.
You want to say hello to everyone?
Hello.
Hello, Mrs. O'Leary.
She's come back in a minute. She's putting it. I won't say what she's doing. Let's play some Tiger before then. If that would be great.
Seamless. To do an English takeaway.
Boys born at near Vapor Spring. To the boy for gifts we bring their eggs, their bream, there's television, their cream. 10 years time the boy's grown and call me on the telephone. 4 jokes he has to say. I
was out in the fields, waiting for Farmer Giles to bring some corn for him to grind.
Yes, Porky. Farmer Giles is taking a very long time. My time.
So what we heard there was, we heard My Puppet Pal from Tiger and Friends from off the second album. With a little bit of I Work in Retail by Magic Wizard pseudonym, and from something I hadn't heard before, that Joe Clidd by Westminster Abbey, which interests me as well because Ben Waller was involved, who's we're a big fan of the Country Teasers and stuff. I'm assuming it's the same Ben, and and then Windy Farm I'd never seen before, but that was delightful. So yeah, what anything you want to tell us about that stuff?
I was interested with your choice. Actually, Ben Waller's a big Fall fan. And he actually brought, we did about 5 songs, me, Dido and Ben Waller's, at that 1999. And he brought quite a lot of Fall influence. I wasn't so aware of at the time, but I can hear it now. Now I'm a bit more au fait with the Fall.
Lovely stuff. I think that Friends one is, again, maybe not intentional, but has a little bit of a Fall kind of feel to it. And what was the thinking with the Windy's Farm idea? That was lovely stuff.
I don't know. I had a very boring job where I had nothing to do all day, and I just ended up making Windy's Farm 3 episodes, I think.
Yeah, it was lovely. I was going to play out that clip of you when you played on the Big Breck. I don't know if you remember that, but the stuff that jumped at me about Tiger and the stuff you'd done was that crossed over with the Fall again, whether or not it was intentional. And really, this is just an excuse to have you on the show. Last year, you were a Fall fan. It didn't really matter whether you're a Fall fan or not, as long as you were prepared to come by and have a chat. But I do think that kind of anti kind of fashion at the time, and you were known for having the mullets and the T-shirts with the Jaguars on, and the anti-fashion stuff, and also the angular but melodic kind of surreal pop. So I definitely, for me as a Fall fan, there was definitely a crossover. But for you, from your perspective, did you have much of a Fall influence?
I think so, but I never listened to the Fall, apart from, I think it subconsciously went in when I was listening to it when I was doing my homework as a teenager. I think I used to listen to Radio 1 in the evenings. And I think it did subconsciously go in. The other people I worked with, as I mentioned, Ben, were Fall fans. When we made Friends, I was kind of conscious that was sort of Fallish. But that sort of came about as an accident anyway. The song Friends, it started off as a sort of melodic pop song, and we were trying to work out how it went. And meanwhile, I was writing this. I was trying to write the lyrics for the song, and I couldn't. I just ended up writing this sort of monologue, and just tried. And I had a really bad cold at the time, and I just read it over the top of the song, and it worked. It kind of all worked, came together.
Who would you say your musical influences are, Dan?
Don't know. The thing is, I grew up listening to some 60s music. That's all I really listened to when I was a teenager. Apart from the odd, when I was doing my homework. So I don't know, really.
Bands like Tiger and anyone that uses the angular style, it doesn't necessarily matter whether they were specifically looking to have, that post-punk stuff as a influence, but other things like the rudimentary kind of keyboard stuff and having multiple female members of the band and your B-sides, which thankfully I think are now up on Spotify. I think both albums...
It's all gone now. It's all been taken down by Universal Music.
Oh, right. The B-sides are delightful. It's well worth a listen to anyone out there that hasn't listened to Tiger or your latest stuff, The Magic Wizard. It's got a real charm. You did the paintings for the covers?
Yeah.
They're really kind of striking images, and there's a really good style. Do you still paint or?
No.
Oh, well.
I never really enjoyed it. I'm quite proud of what I did do.
Yeah, they're really nice images and very evocative and very suited to the kind of music. Shall we move on? We've got City Hobgoblins versus Solicitor in studio. We were supposed to do those last time when we talked to Mayo Thompson from the Red Crayola, but we decided that it was probably better not to talk about songs he had no involvement in whatsoever, considering he's had a legendary story.
It's slick today, isn't it? It's like a well-oiled
it's
machine. The
beautiful.
whole operation.
Beautiful.
than
Lads. I know we've got 6 people in who haven't asked any questions to yet, but you know what? You're here every week. It doesn't matter. We'll get your opinion sooner or later. Hobgoblins versus Solicitor in studio. I'm going to Spain and calling it best fall cover ever versus Black Monk Time worst fall cover, and then You'Wanner versus I've Seen Him. So can we have a bit of a listen to City Hobgoblins, Philip?
Not Solicitor in the studio.
Whatever, don't matter. Just play a song.
You're on mute.
Oh man,
Phil, that's a great song, isn't it? By the Fall. What do you think about it? Phil Rigby.
For asking me, Matt. It's very kind of you to offer that opportunity. Do you know what? I've loved this song a little bit more every single time I've heard it this week. In fact, for the last 2 weeks, given what happened at the last episode. There's something very saxophone about that bass line. And it took me ages to realise there's actually 2 basses playing along on this, isn't there? I think it's a great tune that just bounces along. And considering it's not really doing that much, it keeps its energy. And I don't lose interest at all. I think the weird kind of production on it, where you've got these dull drums and very naked bass playing, works really, really well. The guitar is just like a bit of a shimmery thing going on in the background. But the other thing that it kept reminding me of this week is, especially in that mid-late breakdown, it really feels a bit kinksy to me. It feels like it's got a bit of a kink, like especially I keep imagining voices when that mid-late breaks in, like a ba 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 kind of thing, which always got me thinking of the Kinks.
Might want to see someone about that.
And then I think what's really interesting is in the last sort of minute, you hear these bass licks getting played that are then mimicked on the keyboard as well. So it betrays a lot more production going on than perhaps they want you to realise with the record. But I think this is brilliant, and it's one of them tunes that I've not really given much time to previously, but I've really enjoyed getting into this week. It's a cracker.
Nice. Dan, what did you think about this one?
This was my favourite one, probably for some of the reasons Phil says. I really like the instrumentation, that kind of clunky bass, and it's quite, as you say, it's quite melodic. I felt a bit of affinity with this one.
Sweet.
Well,
Nice.
It's not too cocky.
Oh, no, absolutely. How about Ezra? What does he think? Can't tell, can we? He's on mute as well.
I'm on mute too.
Fucking hell.
Yeah,
Right, that's true. One more and we get our podcast license revoked.
It's interesting listening to what Phil and Dan have to say, because I kind of feel a bit the opposite way. Like, I was really the thing that I really enjoyed about this song when I first heard it was like Phil was saying, like to me it was almost like a kind of cello or string section, the sound of them basses, and I thought that was really, really blew me away. But listening to it again and again, I started to feel like the parts were maybe greater than the sum of the whole. Like, I feel like it goes on a little bit too long. There's weird drops as well when the kind of mic feedback, the whole song kind of like goes down a couple of notches of volume. And so I wound up thinking like, yeah, actually this is one of them where, when you listen to members of the group complaining about Room to Live, this is one of those tracks off Room to Live where I can kind of see where they're coming from. I also felt like maybe the lyrics weren't the strongest. They're kind of funny. It seems to be about a solicitor trying to make a second career as a rent-a-gob on some kind of TV show. And, you got Patrick Moore, got a manifesto. He learned the words vid king and spontaneous. He learned the words analysis and through video. Later on, scientists and their bloody childish reading habits. So there are there's some great fucking lines on there, but ultimately it kind of made me a bit nostalgic, because when you actually look back at that kind of TV that was on in those days when they debated stuff, and then you fast forward a few decades and watch, I don't know, Kilroy or something, you just realize that civilization's crumbled into the sea. And you're kind of like, Mark, what were you fucking complaining about? At least people could speak in them days, But yeah, it's a good track, but my love for it was somewhat tempered through the listening process.
Have we just witnessed Ezra's turn into the grumpy old man now? You've matured.
I'm a fucking dad.
2 weeks of parenthood and he's lost the will to live. The old days were so much better. Bring back Magnus Pike. What about
the shit in an handcart?
Chris Barrow, come on, save this train wreck, please.
Yeah, I'm a bit with Ezra on this one. It all starts a bit kind of clunky and awkward, but then you kind of adapt to it, and it all becomes actually quite catchy. It doesn't deserve to be kind of over 5 minutes, but it's still got its charms. There's, like you said, there's a different part kind of halfway through that's actually quite a good part. If they'd gone kind of 50-50 on it and kind of just ran it out with that other part, I think it'd been much better. But like most things on Room to Live, it's a worthwhile diversion, but nothing essential.
It's just fighting talk, isn't it? It's a great record, Chris.
Yeah.
And second thoughts, I'm having second thoughts of inviting you on. Alistair, come on. You think this is great, don't you?
I certainly do, yeah. I think there's a bit of bollocks been talked there. It's a great tune, yeah. It's a bit long, you get wrong with that, There's some like really long songs that the Fall have done that have been considerably worse, naming no tunes. So yeah, the bass line's fucking great. The groove that they get going is brilliant. The sort of scratchy rhythm guitar suits it really well. Love the feedback from the mic, and I do think Room to Live is just, to coin a phrase, not appreciated quite as much as it should be. But yeah, it's got a right bounce to it. It's a word that Phil used that I'd written down as well. So yeah, it's got that sort of like spring in your step when you're walking, kind of listening to it on your headphones. And the production thing is, I like the story behind it. It's just sort of like dragging various members of the band into the studio different times, stick your part down, and then they just sort of like did what the fuck they wanted to with it. And the feedback with a mic, which is just like a deliberate act of vandalism just chucked in there, is brilliant. I love it. I can only encourage more of this kind of behaviour.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Leon over there on Patreon has said the Hanley brothers might say underdeveloped. I dig it. Looser than Hex era and improvisational, a funny dig at media types. And it is indeed that second bass, that papa kind of thing. Is apparently Carl Burns, one of the drummers, because they had two drummers at that point, right? So Hanley's on drums, but it's hard to know in that album because famously or unfamously he dragged people in random and they didn't know what songs they were playing on. But yeah, very nice groovy vibe and just wonky enough and melodic enough to kind of toe that line. Solicitor in studio soon ran into trouble. He inadvertently proved the point of this, that his profession was rot. What does Tiny Tim think on the other side?
Well, I've just had a quick scan at what he's scribbled on the rice paper, and I think today's episode is going to be the fight episode. And I, for one, am looking forward to this, especially given what we've got coming up next with Al's conundrum of two covers up against each other. But anyway, Tiny Tim has written Solicitor in the Studio. This is my least favourite track on RTL after Papal Visit. But there's nothing wrong with it. I think it just shows the weakness of the recording method that makes so many of the tracks on the record so interesting. For me, this one really needs a fully locked-in groove with a slow tension build, but the slightly janky feel of things not quite sticking together properly undermines it a bit. I love the noisy bits that pop up as a break, but they are way too brief. Give me a 5-minute section devoted to improvised coughing, keyboard spam, and feedback, and I'll be a lot happier. Good stuff, but not quite at the top level of the rest of the record and other wrong.
Noises and high-pitched whines. Let's have a listen to what it's up against, which is City Hobgoblins, which was the B-side of How I Wrote Elastic Man, and was produced by that chap that dropped by last week, which was nice. Rough Trade, 1980.
That's it, we're revoked.
Tap, tap. You think it's the pipes, but who turns on the lights? Our city hobgoblins! Our city hobgoblins! F.A.L.L.O.U.T.P.O.D.C.A.S.T is a home hobgoblin, and a next already. Our city hobgoblins! Our city hobgoblins!
Boo Boo Leroy is a home hobgoblin. Chris Barrow, what do you have to say about this song?
Well, it certainly deserves a better billing than just a B-side. Possibly, it's even better than Elastic Man, in my opinion. Certainly should have been more than 2 minutes long. It's punky, but in a uniquely F.A.L.L.O.U.T.P.O.D.C.A.S.T fantastic riff and collective racket. Some great strangeness in the lyrics. Love the bit about Queen Victoria statue being a large black slug. Quite an underrated gem, all in all.
Indeed. It's a bold claim, but, I actually do. I think it's got a lot of charm, especially being tucked away there on a B-side. Dan, is this, what did this song do for you?
I think this is my second favourite one. As someone who's not very familiar with the Fall, this is kind of how I imagine the Fall sound like, and especially the way he says hobgoblins. So that made me laugh. Yeah. So I think this is my second favourite.
Nice. Manchester, Piccadilly, Manchester. That's a Smith signature right there.
Is it Jeff Travis produced?
So apparently, yeah, it's so I think Jeff Travis and Mayo Thompson, the fellow from the Red Curler, they did a lot of the production on the singles around this time. So it has got that raw. It's got a really nice raw feel to it. It's I know someone who'd like that. Alistair, what do you make of City Hobgoblins?
The production's great, isn't it? It's like real sort of like stripped down kind of punky stuff. There's no fat on there, it's just like proper lean piece of music. And also as a bonus, there's cowbells and kazoos. Brilliant. But yeah, the line about the big black slug is reference to like the statue of Queen Victoria in Piccadilly Gardens. And I've had my photograph taken in front of that by work colleagues who were completely baffled behind the rationale as to why I wanted the photograph taken. I was going, no, it's the great big black slug, look at it. But there you go. I'd say sort of make friends and, influence people into thinking you're a weirdo. But great song.
Great song indeed, Ezra. City Hobgoblins.
Yeah, smashing. I mean, they're still wearing the dust from, the exploding space cock that was the punk rock revolution. And yeah, at less than half the length of Solicitor in studio, they fucking do the job with a plum. As I said last week, I'll say it again because I think it's just one of the best lines he ever wrote. 10 times my age, 1/10 my height are the City Hobgoblins. I was really interested to see that on the annotated Fall, the consensus seems to be that there's some kind of a sports ball connection to this, and it's all about football hooligans, like running around beating innocent people, grandmothers and Morrisseys up. But I can't see any of that in the lyrics. But everybody seems so sold on it that I suppose it must be true. And, those hobgoblins, the spirit of the hobgoblins at least, possesses the hooligans to run amok like that. But
I don't know either, but it's definitely about scallies, right? At the very least, it's about young ruffians. I don't think he's really talking about proper hobgoblins, what we've got in our toilet. Phil, your camera, is it like a proper weird angle? Is that like a fish eyes lens? It's like you're in a Beastie Boys video.
Thank you. That's what I was going for. I'm going to do some more appropriative behaviour later on. Shall I tell you what I think about the song though?
While we're here, yeah.
Okay. I'm more in Ezra's camp really about the whole sort of lyric thing. Where it reminded me, there's a story by Lieber Fritz called Smoke Ghost, and it's supposed to be the first urban ghost story. Really, it's from like the late 40s, I think, something like that. And it reminded me of that. It reminded me of taking like these kind of medieval supernatural characters and then plonking them in a modern day setting, really. And I love that. I love Smoke Ghost, and I love that kind of idea, that juxtaposition of what would modern elementals kind of feel like, which is where Gremlins comes from. The idea of Gremlins, isn't it? It's like electronic elementals that cause mischief. And it put me in a good mind. It is a very short song. It surprises me how short it is every time this, but I think it's very evocative, even though it sounds like it's been produced in a back room and the cymbals are like dustbin lids and stuff. It's a bit of punk-oi energy, but I really like the picture that it paints. So yeah, I think it's a good one. Like Chris said, it shouldn't be a B-side.
No, it's on the right side of punky for me. You know, we're not big fans of the oi kind of stuff, but it's on the right side of rockabilly, punky, scratchy stuff. Leon reckons Cream Victoria, a large black slug. He likes that line, one of Mez's best lines. Simple bass breakdown followed by kazoo rip. Such a smart and effective way to build excitement with limited means. And I agree, very much so.
The opening line's a cracker as well, though, isn't it? You think it's the pipes, and then it turns on the lights. It's a great couplet.
Paints quite the picture, doesn't it? What does Tim think before we go to the vote?
He said, whatever Brendan said is wrong. A prime slice of throwaway fall, but a lovely one. Extra points for kazoo and the comedy of the black slug, which always makes me laugh when I see it. This recording really captures the live sound from bootlegs of this time. Great stuff. Well, we'll find out, won't we, on the extra live episodes?
We will. So, we got our first paid for vote. We've given up on any sort of integrity now, and we're selling votes on the internet. So Michael E, thanks, Michael. We appreciate you being on board, and you're definitely not a pseudonym, so I can get 2 votes. He's voting. He's voting for Solicitor in Studio. Dan, which one are you going for?
Yeah, the first one.
Solicitor. Good. Phil?
Well, I sold my vote as well to a dog in the pub. And the dog's called Benji, and Benji's going for Solicitor in the Studio.
Benji knows which way his bread's buttered, doesn't he? Ezra?
City Hobgoblins.
It's a great tune. This is a travesty that these 2 songs are up against each other, isn't it? It's disgraceful. Chris Barrow?
City Hobgoblins.
Alistair?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Eh?
It is.
It is, yeah. But I think I'm going to have to go for the stripped down lean shit. So it's shitty hobnobs for me.
So we got Tiny Tim's got the casting vote here, hasn't he?
He has Solicitor 2.7.
Right.
City Hobbs 3.
So City Hobgoblins goes through unless I've missed someone out or made a mistake. Chris, did I ask you what you think? I didn't, did I?
I think that's correct. Sounds fair to me.
So you're putting City Hobgoblins through. Fair enough. Makes sense. I'm not good at this stuff, so please, anyone tell me if I forget to ask you about anything. Moving on to the next showdown.
What one?
City Hobgoblins, probably. Yeah. I'm going to Spain, the Steve Bent cover.
I sold my car, thrown in my jaw. I'm 34 years old. I think it's time I saw the world, and not Australia. I sold my car, thrown in my jaw. I'm 34 years old. I think it's time I saw the world, 'cause I hate the cold and rain and grey and it doesn't rain. I hope I can quit
I love that song. I love the original. It's so Kenny Everett did an album called World's Worst Record, 1978, and it had that on. It had Paralyzed by Legendary Stardust Cowboy. It had Transfusion by Nervous Novus, which Smith also covered at some point. And strangely enough, Surfing Bird by the Trashmen, which I just assumed everybody was a big hit, right? Wasn't it? Was it just that Family Guy thing why everyone knows it? And a song by Eamon Andrews. But Alistair, what do you make? Your opinion's valid on this subject. What do you make of that I'm Going to Spain song?
Well, I listened to your cover of it, Brendan, last night, and I did enjoy that very much. Your cover of it reminded me a bit more of a sort of like Kramer sound, very shimmy disc-esque.
Right.
Yeah, the Fall cover. Do you remember he did get in the Festive 50 that year? Yeah, it's like very chorusy guitar and like accordion settings on the keys. It's a decent tune. It's a cover. It sounds like the Chameleons doing a B-side, with a bit of a full treatment over the top of it. It's okay. It's a bit tame.
I'm going to play a bit of the original. It is tame, I'll give you that, but it's delightful. So Steve Bent is like, when you see this chap's face, if you were of our generation, you might have come across him. He's on Holby City like once every 2 weeks or something like that. So he's been on a lot of stuff. But let's have a listen to his version, because it's quite similar.
Sold my car, thrown in my job. I'm 24 years old. I think it's time that I saw the world. And I hate it, yes I hate the cold. And I'm going to Spain, 'cause Norman had a real fight.
Hear the little castanets there in the background as well. It's very fun and the wacky.
Who wrote it? Who wrote the song?
I don't know if he 78, I think. I imagine he wrote it. I'll have to look in a bit more, but yes, I'm not sure. Dan, what was your thoughts on the I'm Going to Spain?
Well, I don't want to upset anyone. I thought it was horrible. A horrible guitar at the beginning. Sort of shingy guitar. It was also a bit muffled as well, or maybe that's my hearing. I don't know. There's a nasty sort of 80. I don't know when it was made, but it just the instrumentation on this made me think of some horrible sort of 80s. I don't know. And also, he just kind of. It sounds a bit sort of like Lloyd Cole or something in the singing, which maybe it's the tune. I don't know, but that really put me off as well. So nothing positive really I've got to say about that.
Good. It was actually from 1993, and I just noticed the original says like I'm 23 or whatever, and Smith sings I'm 35, so it's a nice little touch there. But yeah, I'm baffled. I don't know how anyone could not think that's the greatest song ever. But Dan, you're entitled to your opinion.
It was made in the 90s.
93, and the thing is that it was the rest of the album's pretty electronic. They went a bit Manchester at that point, and but this stands out on the album. Yeah. The kind of jangly indie that the Fall could do but never did outside of that song. So maybe they were all in on the joke. Straight down the line cover.
Well, I might be missing out on something. Because I'm not that familiar with Fall.
No, I don't think you are. I think most people would think it was awful. I mean, but I don't think Chris Barrow's going to think it's awful. I think he's going to like it a lot.
No, I'm a bit with Dan on this one. Like Dan says, that guitar and then the keyboard and the band, they're just all a bit kind of blasé and just kind of potter along with it. It's listening to the originals. Well, your version, Brendan, and Steve Bent's. They're not cheap. They don't sound cheesy to me. But the Falls does, they've kind of elevated the cheese, Steve Benson is quite likeable, actually. Sounds like Belle and Sebastian to me.
It has got that gentle kind of indie feel to it, a bit wonky, right? And the timing's not quite right. There's like some of the bars are three notes or 5 notes and stuff like that.
But
Oh,
no,
that's
the
good.
Falls version's a bit of a fail. Sorry.
Even with the castanets, that didn't do it for you.
Yes.
Oh
No,
well.
no.
Well, let's see if someone has a more reasonable opinion.
Spain was a preset.
Ezra, come on.
Yeah, I like this a lot. You know, I really like it when the Fall do shit music, and I don't mean the original was shit. I mean, you know, they have this kind of cheese setting that they go on to, and we'll hear it really done to its fullest potential in the next track. But I think there's also plenty of that on here, and it always makes me a little bit happy inside. And it's interesting because, you know, like, I think my favorite Fall cover would be Lost in Music, because they're the band take on a song, and that was probably on the same album, actually.
Same record,
They take on a song and they completely change it around, and they fuck with the meaning of it and create something which is its own distinct beast. But here, Mark just wants you to know about Steve Bent and the crime of Kenny Everett's Bottom 30, which, from what Brendan said, contains at least 5 of my all-time favorite tracks. The original one's ace, this one. Like, there's that really odd phasing and flanging on pretty much every part, which I only noticed about halfway through the track when I first listened. The one thing I do like about the Fall cover is, like, when it gets to the line, I think it's time I saw the world because I hate the cold and rain and grey. I love the way that Mark kind of sings it. It's like, I hate the rain, the cold, and so yeah, you know, like, all in all, I quite like this one.
Beautiful. Alistair?
Yeah,
right up your street. I've asked you already. Well, what about Phil?
It's interesting how people are reacting to this. It's I remember getting this CD out of Wigan Library when I was years ago, like, sort of catching up on my Fall listening, and this track coming on and just thinking, fuck is this? And then hearing about the backstory, the Kenny Everett record and all that kind of stuff, and I didn't realise the legendary Stardust Cowboys on that fucking Kenny Everett record, which just goes to show you didn't have a clue what he was on about. And the original song itself that's the first I've heard of it, and all that I've heard of the original. So it's the orchestration's quite intriguing on that. But my thoughts about the Fall version are, I do like it, but it's my contrarian nature that likes this song. That's the boxes that are getting ticked for me. It does sound awful. Marky Smith playing with a straight bat on this record is just has to be heard to be believed, really. But the chorus and the falsetto that he goes into, I could not shake off the Steve Maltmus thing. Once I started hearing that as Word Pavement kind of rip off some of their stuff. And like you were saying yesterday in the chat about they were much more prepared to play with that jingle jangle guitar, weren't they, on the pop records? So I do like it, although I agree completely with Dan. It's awful. It's shitty music and it's done badly. But I'm so contrarian that really does it for me. So maybe I've won some Fall fan points back there from some of my previous opinions.
Maybe. I think if it had been released as a single, it would have gone top 10. Here's what Leon thinks. This one brings me to bitter tears. How about Tim? He's got no time.
Is he not giving us any more than that? Just bitter tears?
No, that's it. Just bitter tears. He's leaving it open. Mystery, isn't it?
Are they good bitter? It's like, you can have like happy bitter tears.
Mild tears. Tim's got no time for this at all, has he?
I'm going to tell you exactly what he thinks right now. So he's put ropey phasing guitar tone, naff wishy-washy sound, vomit-inducing whooshy synths, and overall a pretty shit version of a shit song. I'll give it a point because it's clearly pretty funny, but I've no idea why you lot seem to like this.
He'll never understand us, will he? Never. Well, it is up against something arguably much, much worse. The Fall's cover of How to Do Now, retitled Black Monk Part 2. What was that, 92, I think. All right, just in case you've forgotten what the actual good version sounds like. So that's the Monks how to do now. Ezra, what do you reckon to this version of that song?
It's quite fucking hilarious. I mean, I was just thinking, you know, like, I think if you're working in the pop medium, putting out albums, it's extremely difficult to come up with a full album of like proper top tier songs. And I kind of feel like that may be why the Fall just on a lot of their albums have at least one song where they're just like, we're not even going to try with this one. It's just going to be the sound of us fucking about. And yeah, you know, I've got to admire the chutzpah turning like a kind of proto-punk anthem into something you would hear like, or you would expect to hear at some fucking Blackpool granny disco or something. Like it's God, like it's just fucking incredible.
All a bit Stars on 45, isn't it? Dave Bush with his arpeggiators.
A great deal.
Brilliant. Dan, what was your take on this beautiful early 90s excursion?
Well, this was all right. I thought I like that kind of keyboardy thing, and the vocals I thought weren't bad at all. But it's funny because I didn't know, I had never heard of that Monk song, and that was kind of the opposite way around. I thought the music in the Monk sing, it was amazing. I was expecting something really to develop into something really great, and then when they started singing, when the Monks started singing, it was rubbish. I have to listen to it again, but I have to listen to that beginning again. Monks, great.
Yeah, it's great band, and it's a good job we're all a long way away from each other, because Phil Rigby he's a wild man when people start saying bad stuff about the Monks.
Oh, well, that was the first time I've heard it. I mean, the beginning was amazing before they started singing.
Yeah, a great band, and there's some great tunes. That's not one of my favorites by them, and some of the vocals get pretty wild and out there. But top.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think that's the best ever Monks track.
No, but it's a good band. What does Chris Barrow of Wigan think about that Monks song?
Well, yeah, I've never heard the that version of How to Do Now, that live one, and I thought it was excellent. I just thought it was amazing. But Black Monk Part 2 sounds nothing like it at all, does it? I kind of don't see any kind of similarity at all. It's just absolutely dreadful. The Falls version, the high pitch kind of country music keyboard is deeply irritating. Then there's like a simple kind of jolly bass line, synthetic drums, and like you say, it's just got to be a joke. It's worse than I'm Going to Spain, in my opinion.
Here's what Leon Jumblesar had to say: classic Balearic Fall with Mez in full command of his instrument. Phil, do you concur?
It's no, I don't. No, I don't concur with that. This is a wild roller coaster we're on today, isn't it? So, my take is when we were playing the Fall version and I switched it off, I was quite happy. And then when you switched off the Monks version, I was quite sad because I wanted that to continue. I think this is not my bag. Yeah, I've only written one word on my notes here. It just is awful.
Shit. The hand claps are the only good thing. I'd say this is the worst Fall Monks cover, possibly the worst cover they ever did. Alistair, defend it. Come on.
Well, it's not a cover, is it? This is a reimagination of a Monks classic.
You can't get away with that again.
It made it sound like Dollar. And words that Ezra said that I wrote down was fucking hilarious. and you've got to see, like, it's like going fuck off to this is more punk than some of the punky sounding stuff, because it's just like they've taken this brilliant song which has got like loads of energy in it, and you've got all the tension with the banjos and the keyboards and stuff like that, and they just sucked all the life out of it and made it sound like black lace. Brilliant.
Woo, boo, that's enough from you, Alistair. Thank you. Is that everyone, Tim?
No,
He'll love this, won't he?
He's put, Jesus, this is rubbish too. A bad novelty thing that sounds like bad disco. There's the added bonus of not even being fun to dance to. Overly long at 2 minutes.
I want to hear a remix of it with him. It's a bit of Agadoo into it. That'd be good.
It's proper Jive Bunny, isn't it? It's proper Jive Bunny. It's like, but I at a certain time of night, I might appreciate it. Dana, this is, I guess, absolutely unconnected to this conversation, but I was looking through your the releases with Tiger, and you broke the top 40 with one of your singles. Is that correct? Did Race went top 40, right?
36, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't go on top of the Pops, though, I don't think, did you?
No, only had a picture on top of the Pops in the chart rundown.
What were the highlights of that era of being like a pop star and an enemy kind of, because they loved you, right? You're always in there, and it was a cool band, a great band. But what was your memory of being of that time?
Being hated, I think, because I don't know. As much as people liked it, people didn't like it, and you kind of pick up on the dislike rather than the like. But no, I mean, I don't know. You mentioned the Big Breakfast. That was quite good. Having Zig and Zag and Frank Carson dancing to your song, and Cheggers as well.
Zig and Zag did a couple of good records themselves.
All those celebrities dancing to your song was quite a highlight of my career in pop.
Brilliant. Why don't we play a bit of that sort of Race, and we can watch you sing on it? How you fare with watching yourself from the 90s? Is that a good experience, or you okay with that?
Yeah, now it's so far in the past that I can watch it now. Yeah.
Big Breakfast, but Danny Minogue introducing you.
You sure do.
Don't forget, look at me, I'm on TV throughout the rest of the week. Chicken in a Basket, we'll be playing all the games, and Grantiques Roto. But now, playing us out today is a band performing their brand new single. It's the television debut of a band who have roared, I tell you, roared onto the music scene. Performing the song Race, Please, Dublin. Give it up for Tiger! And we'll see you again tomorrow.
In the corner, giving the orders. She's in the corner, having a baby race. I've got an idea. It's a race. I've got an idea. Make my supper, she said.
Great tune. You still you still like those tunes, Dan? Or are you still playing back from time to time, or?
Well, I got a bit sick of them having to perform them all the time.
Right.
Sometimes I don't know. Yeah, I suppose I'm still bored of them.
It's good to move on, but looking back, yeah, great stuff.
It's good to write a new song and enjoy that for a while before you get bored of that.
Yeah, have you putting any? Are you doing any new stuff at the minute, or?
No. I sometimes make one up in my head and then forget it before I've got time to.
That's fair enough. I put them on Bandcamp, and it probably has the same effect as me just singing them in the car anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm quite content now just to sing them in the car and leave it at that.
Beautiful. But you are over time if we do this vote and then listen to two more?
Yeah.
Good. All right. So I think this is the point of the evening where I forget what we're up to, but I think we've talked to everyone. I think we've listened. Yes.
Vote, did we?
We haven't voted yet, so we're going. I'm going to Spain versus Black Monk Time 2. I thought this was easy. I did this deliberately so that I'm going to Spain would go 3, but I may have made a grave error. I should have. Philip, which way are you going? as if I needed to know.
In solidarity, I'm going for the Spanish. No pasará.
Beautiful. I'm also going for Spain, and our man Michael E over there on Patreon has also gone for Spain. So it's made a good start. Dan, which way are you going?
Definitely the Monks.
Fair enough. Chris?
Spain for me.
Ezra?
It's a real conundrum for me. I mean, like, vote for a song that I quite like or piss off Brendan, who sent to me.
It's tough.
A couple of weeks ago. It's tough. And I also really want to, this is an aside, if you would message, what's his name, that fella, and ask him for a playlist of Balearic Fall, I'd really like to hear
Leon
it.
Jumblesay. Well, let's do a pitch for Leon's. Seeing as he's a Patreon, Leon does a thing called Jumblesay Radio, and you can listen to it, and it's great. He plays a great selection of tracks. So you know what, Leon, if you're listening, which I'm sure you are, play some Balearic Fall for Ezra, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please do. And so yeah, I'll opt for the pissing Brendan off vote with Black Monk 2.
Fair enough, Alistair.
Black Monk. It's not a cover, so you gotta throw the cover out.
All right, I think that leaves Tiny Tim, doesn't it? Go on.
And he has gone for Spain.
There you go. I knew he would. All right, so that takes us to the last showdown in the evening. Back into late. Spain won 5-3
on penalties.
On penalties, right? So that takes us to the final showdown of the evening, which is going to be You.Wanner F.A.L.L.O.U.T.P.O.D.C.A.S.T 2005 versus I've Seen Him versus GB 2011. So let's have a bit of a listen to You.Wanner, if you don't mind, Philip.
I could have had a life, could have had a wife, he said. Well, there's always someone around me, love her. You wanna?
So that's 2003 F.A.L.L.O.U.T.P.O.D.C.A.S.T Roll, which is a splendid album, the proper dark Stooges riffs. I mean, it's as close as another rip-off of I Wanna Be Your Dog as they're going to get, but I think they do it right. I think it's probably their best Stooges rip-off. You Are a Mourner, digging proper into the pocket, Smith just going for it with the outside flavorness of it all. He gets a bit monksiest himself at the end with all the stuttering and jiving, but still the riffage keeps pummeling. Apparently there's some ideas that it was just like Renegade. It was about the lads in the band and how they were moaning about stuff all the time, probably by having to play the same riff for 15 minutes to go. Dan, did this do anything for you? Have you heard this kind of era of the Fall at all?
I don't know. Maybe I have. I mean, I don't. As I say, I haven't really listened to the Fall. But this is kind of how I imagine the Fall sound, and I like the sound of this. Well, this is a plus point, really. I don't know if it's a plus point or a negative point, but it reminds me of a band from the 80s called John Wayne. Don't know if you know them.
I don't know.
Oh yeah,
there was like a spoof cowboy, and he used to do these sort of drunk songs. The band used to do the songs, and John Wayne, I think the singer was called John Wayne, and he used to sing in a sort of drunk way, and the productions will sound similar, and it kind of, in a way, I wanted it to go into sort of John Wayne and his funny sort of Texas references and everything.
When you said that name, so that they actually he references in another song of time, a bit later, he references a John Wayne song, particularly the one called "But I've Got Texas," where he says, "I have to jack off the dog just to feed the goddamn cat." So actually, Smith does know that band, which is interesting. This is a few years before that, yeah.
Well, I've only heard the Texas Funeral album.
Okay, yeah, I don't know him. It's just that
that line.
Yeah. So I think Smith was familiar with that band, interestingly enough.
Ben Wallace, he was very John Wayne with the Country Teasers.
Yeah. I mean, it's obvious that like all that country teaser stuff is properly fall influenced. Yeah, probably it'd be great if he dropped by as well, because I'm sure he's got a lot to say about the Fall. But yeah, I'll have a listen more to John Wayne stuff. That sounds good.
That's great. I like all that Texas.
Nice.
That's more of a comedy thing, John Wayne is comedy. I was just kind of.
Yeah, if maybe lines like that about jacking off dogs, I'll suggest that he might not be playing it straight. But that's good stuff. How about what does Chris Barra of Wigan think of this song?
Well, the mid-noughties were a fantastic period for the Fall, in my opinion. I always think of Mark with the one with Leather Glove when they played Blindness on Jules Holland. That band was just awesome. They made some really intense stuff at that period, and this is just a great example of that. Excellent drums, bass, discordant guitar, keyboard, and this is a great song. Just love it.
Nice. And right now, Chris, those are records next to your head, is that right?
They're not very good ones.
Well, here we go. There's a new segment called Chris Picks a Random Record Off His Shelf. So just in that middle section, just pull one out randomly if you don't mind.
Middle section?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Eyes closed.
Eyes closed.
Keep going, Mr. Wed.
Go down to the W's.
There
you go.
Yeah, that one, no.
Come on, don't milk it, lad.
I'm pointing at it now.
There you go, pull it out. He's cheating there, isn't he? What is it? It's Carpenters. Best of Two. It's not a bad choice at all. What's on that, Chris? Give us what's the big track on that?
I Need to Be in Love. Let Me Be the One. Happy I Have You.
Scraping the barrel.
Brendan's done covers of each and every one of those as well, which are on his Bandcamp.
Probably. Listen, Alistair, what do you think, Chris? That's good. We'll come back to that every week from now on. Alistair, what do you make of this song, whatever it is? I forgot what song we're talking about.
I might go in that game though and sit downstairs next week. But yeah, it does sound like he sent the kids away to to do their own work with like a couple of Stooges LPs. That's definitely something that's probably gone on there. But yeah, I guess it's an okay groove, like with some nice ranting on it. It's very energetic, but it's a bit of a one-trick pony, isn't it?
Fair enough.
It just does the same thing over and over again.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
Repetition, isn't it?
Repetition.
One week you're all about it, next week you can't stand it. Never know with you, Alistair. Leon says, he goes
Leon's
on about
not fickle like you, Al.
No, the outside flavorness of it. Now, we like that line when it came up on Smith's album. I think it's on Panda Panza Panza, right? And worth it for this alone, he says. Ezra, you've got some opinions on this song, right?
I like just being thrust into the eternal now of garage doom for 5 or 6 minutes, and I think that song does this very, very well. It's interesting that this does just seem to be like a fucking beef assassination track of ex-bandmates from Marquis Smith, and he can't even be asked to really write any lyrics for it. So yeah, he recycles the best lines from Panda Panza Panza, the outsidedness flavour of it, and as meandering through the trash pedalweight of investment guest solo. But most of the rest of the stuff is just like, essentially, it's you're not as famous as me, but you want to be, which is quite sour. Luckily, his performance pulls it off, and just that throbbing eternal migraine of pummeling garage noise helps it. So, not bad.
Fair enough. What about you, Pip? You like this one, right?
I like that. I like Ezra's idea of punk rock and roll being this archetypal energy that you can tap into. I'm having that. What did I think? I think it starts off really well. It's got really good energy about it. I think Mez sounds smashing. I did notice. I wonder if this is a bit of a turning point for him actually in his vocal style, because he seems to jettison the ah at the end of everything and starts doing this kind of like breathless warble kind of thing at the end of his vocal lines with this stuff. I wondered if this is the point where it happens, which is I quite get into. I think, like as we were saying, I think Mez's performance is pretty strong on this, but it is just that I'm kind of waiting for it to do something else, and it's not like Solicitor in the Studio that we started off with, where I'm with that riff 100%. You can keep pounding that for another 10 minutes, and I'll still be jumping up and down. But I just feel with this, it kind of paints itself into a corner a little bit with the music, and you can't see any way of it lifting out of it. I wonder whether it needed another voice on there, perhaps like another instrument, or like they used to do with because the keyboard on it is all noise, which sounds great, but there's nothing of that, nothing to cut through the sound to kind of just give it the lift it needs, I think, at some point. But it's really great. It's a decent jumpy around drunken record. So yeah, I like that, and I agree. I like the sentiment that it gets going in it. Nobody likes people whinging.
No, God no. But it's one of them that like 15 minutes really. It's a krautrocker basically, and that's the eternal kind of garage rock stomp, isn't it? So I don't think they fully went for it. I think that's what. And I think if it had been later, a decade later, it would have been 15 minutes long. And I think that would have done what it needed. Yeah, that's everyone. Tim will like this one too.
I don't think he has. Let's check. He's put, love this one. A sarcastic and nasty dressing down to anyone who ever said they wanted to do something and didn't bother actually doing it. If more of the garage rock style tracks had this amount of drive and synth decoration, I'd be down with a lot more of them. There's a certain outsidedness flavour to it. Good shit.
Yeah. We like that line, don't we? So it's up against something off that's GB, a much maligned fall album from 2011 called I've Seen Them Come, all written by Spike Milligan, I believe. Not really. I think this constitutes the only fall drum solo on any record.
Definitely not the deck, isn't it?
Fast forward a bit. Yeah, it's really grown on me, this one. And what I would say, so the House of All, that record by Brammer and Hamleys and Funky Cy and Greenway, come out this week. I had a listen. It's quite nice stuff, some good stuff on there. But I think Peter Greenway is not going to join him on the tour. And as much as we give him a hard time for some of that riffage, there's great riffage on this song, in my opinion. And we'll hope he feels better soon and can join him for some rocking and rolling. But that aside, Dan, what did you make of this final choice?
Yeah, I didn't get on very well with this one, I'm afraid. I just found the instrumentation just sort of grated on me all the way through, and it hurt my ears as well. I don't know, there must have been some sort of funny vibrations going on, I don't know, with that weird keyboardy thing. And so, yeah, sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm pretty sure that's what Smith was aiming for, to be honest. He would have been very happy with that result, I'm sure. What do you reckon?
Well, it's a noisy, garagey dirge in it. It's got a bit of intensity to it, but there's a bit of like muso blandness in there where they could be kicking its face off. So, it's enjoyable enough. It's not offensive. It's one of those I'm a bit kind of like, it's all right.
Fair enough, Ezra. Anything to defend this late period effort?
Not really. I'm pretty much with Dan and Alistair here. Like, they could have kicked it up a few notches. I mean, like, for what it sounds like they were aiming for, they did need to kick it up a few notches, and they didn't. And then we've just got this like terrible fucking lyric from, and I kind of feel like in these. I mean, maybe he was just going fucking bonkers from all the drugs and the booze, but also sometimes I think, well, maybe he was just trying to shit on his own reputation as being like this kind of lyrical by coming up with stuff that was just like pointedly trash. And this, like, the lyrics are just totally fucking trash. He's getting into the grandpa racism with, oh, I've seen them come from Ding, Fang, Gong, Kwong, Key, Golly Wong Wong, Long Bong, Land. And you're just like, oh, for fuck's sake, shut the fuck up, man. And yeah, the mitigating things are, as you noted, the opening drum solo. I'm a man who likes a drum solo anytime, any place, anywhere. And also the fact he's overdubbed himself going shh over the top of it, which, considering the kind of like tiresome fucking idiocy of the lyrics, I find very, very fitting.
Fair enough.
So yeah, this is the pretty trashy one.
So no benefit given. You think like the list of places is proper UKIP, Bongoland or whatever they were saying, right? You think he was going for that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, if I was going to write a song about a bunch of fictional places, as I said in the chat, I would actually scour my brain a little bit to find like maybe, fictional place names from literature you could use. You could put a bit more work into your own ideations of like coming up with halfway plausible place names than Gong, Bong, Fang, and Gang, or whatever the fuck it is that he comes up with,
So it's all a bit kind of like Alan Clark's diaries, in it. Former MP, I think he was the guy who said Bongo Land in Parliament.
Very nice.
Yeah. That's exactly it. It's gammonish.
Alistair, did you tell us whether you told you didn't like this song? And no one likes it. No one likes this fucking song. Chris, you love this stuff, though, don't you?
Well, I like how it's recorded. It's got a really good kind of live sounding kind of drum to it, and I like the crazy kind of overdubs. Like I say, could have gone a little bit further with those maybe, but I like the guitar line. It just sounds less like a fully developed song rather than like a jam based around a single idea. It kind of sounds like an extended live version of You Wanna. It's got kind of shades of that to me. Same kind of pace to it. I like at the end when it just kind of reduces to just the guitar and drums. That's quite a good bit. It's a good band doing some good work, but it's not like a fully realised kind of song.
Oh, I think Must Try Harder, really, isn't it? And that's one of the Ersatz GB gets criticised for that. It's feeling a little bit tossed off. Leon says, I've seen them come. I respect its unreasonableness. I've been a dong, Metal Mass Balthazar, top metal fall riffage, much more to this track than the initial impressions suggest. A weird sci-fi vibe with Eleni on point. Have you seen that interview he did with Krishna Guru Murphy on Channel 4?
Oh, it'd be great if we could get Krishna Guru Murphy on, wouldn't it? As a celebrity F.A.L.L.O.U.T.P.O.D.C.A.S.T fan.
Maybe. Who knows? Phil, what do you reckon about this song?
I didn't listen to the words, to be totally honest with you. So I've been a bit taken by left field by those comments, so I can't really talk to that. But
plausible deniability.
Well, that's what I like to encourage. The thing that really jumped out at me and what grew on me all week was the guitar layering on it. Actually, I thought the riff's great. It was obviously being the target of your opening comment in regards to Mr. Greenway's health and well-being. Of course, we hope and wish him well. But I've not made any secret of the fact that I'm less than keen on some of his guitar contributions. This, on the other hand, is excellent. I thought it was just really great riff, really creative. It's wonky and angular in all the right places. It is repetitive, but it feels like I tell you, it feels like it's like a bit like the Alton Towers thing when they get that going. But it's just a lot more scratchy and annoying and aggravating, and it builds up that kind of chaotic backdrop to whatever he's prattling on about, which at this point I don't really listen to too much. But It grew on me this week, to be honest with you. It was one that I started off not really listening to too much, being completely intoxicated by Solicitor in the studio. And this has grown on me a lot. I think this is some good music. But yeah, I don't remember the words.
No, I think it's got its charm, this one. I don't know why, because I'm not a fan particularly of that album, but I really did like it. And I think Greenway's got a nice riff and he's trying, but I don't think Smith wants him to do anything else except play that riff. And so I think he's responsible for a lot of this.
They'll play it through a different pedal.
Exactly. Is that Tim? Tim told us what he thinks, yeah?
No. So let's see what he has said. The ricocheting drums at the beginning are fun. The rest is a bit pedestrian. Lyrically, it's a non-event, sort of an I've been everywhere man for the Daily Mail reader. The riff has some promise. Glad when it was over.
Glad when it was over. Well, it is over all now, once we've taken this final vote. So I think it's pretty obvious what's going to happen. Let's slap on a fake smile and go through this one more time. You-Wanner versus I've Seen Them Come. Alistair, which way are you going?
I'm going on strike for this one.
Blimey. All right, fair enough. Ezra,
you can tell he works in the NHS, can't you?
All right.
Yeah, You-Wanner.
All right, fair enough. Dan, which way are you going?
You-Wanner.
Alrighty. Phil?
I'll be the controversial one then. I'll go for what's it called? I've Seen Them Come.
All right. What about Tim?
He's put You-Wanner.
All right. Chris?
You-Wanner.
Easy in it, and Michael E over there on Patreon's also gone for You-Wanner, so it's storming home. I'd go for You-Wanner as well. Ezra, I've asked you. I've asked you all, Anna, more or less. It's hard to say, but You-Wanner's easily won. So
you're tired, mate, aren't you? You're tired.
No, I'm full of energy.
You need a lie down.
Listen, before we go, my mum's here. Come and get my mother, if you don't mind. Can you come over and just say hello to these fine gentlemen just before they go? Mum's visiting, and so
Hi.
Look, some friends over here. What do you think of the Fall, Mum?
Never heard of them.
Not even true. Love them. All the singles.
I've only heard of them through you.
All right. Well, this is a Fall podcast, so I think thanks for dropping by and enjoy the rest of your evening.
See you soon.
So, John O'Leary of Wigan, and Dan, thanks for dropping by. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks. It got me to listen to the Fall for once. Because obviously it's been a reference throughout my life. I've never really. This is the most I've got to find out about the Fall.
Yeah, well, hopefully there's some gems in there that you might come back to. And is there any of your tunes that's a particular favourite that we can play on the way out that we haven't listened to already? Put you on the spot there. I can choose one, as I've got a playlist here. If you've not got one that comes to mind,
yeah, you choose one.
All right, what am I going to choose? Let's have a look.
He's definitely tired, isn't he, Phil?
Yes, you can tell. He's been burning that candle at both ends.
No, you know what? I'm going to listen to Storm Injector off that first album. I think it's a top tune. Just giving my thoughts, chaps. Giving my thoughts. All right. Well, thank you. But I tell you what, why don't say goodbye and you can all vanish from the room and I'll play the song and then I'll stop the video and I'll edit all this bit out so it's like proper snappy. Thanks for coming, Dan. Take care.
Thanks, Dan. That's been brilliant.
Thanks.
Thanks everyone else. You can go about your ways and have a good day.
I'm going having my birthday.
Nice.
Happy birthday, Mr. Riggers.
You can just go now. Bye. See ya.
I can't go.
Bye-bye.
You can go. See you, Chris.
Bye-bye.
Bye.